We have President Trump announcing that there will be some major speech happening tomorrow morning. This coincides exactly with Dennis Porter, who is also out here. And he was making headlines. He was tweeting out a whole bunch of stuff saying, hey, America will not be the same in terms of policy and regulation after Tuesday. Big claim. The post went viral. Everyone's talking about it. Half the people are saying this is just him stirring up old news. Nothing's going to be a big nothing burger. Others are pretty bullish. Rob, I'm not sure if you have any ideas or inklings or things that you think may come up in President Trump's speech. I'm not sure if you do. For me, I think it'll be pretty much a nothing burger plus some kind of like insights, quotes on some regulation moving forward for Bitcoin. I don't think we're going to get a big time announcement. I just haven't seen any evidence that the administration is going to do that. Every time we get something, it just feels like it's a package deal with like 14 other things that are really the main reason they're signing this deal. And Bitcoin's just kind of like on the back end. That's what it's felt like, at least from a lot of stuff that's come out. So what are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, so today the world leaders are convening in New York City for the UN, right? Very funny video last night. The streets of New York were shut down for Trump's motorcade to go through, and Macron, the president of France, he was stuck in traffic and actually had to get out of his car and ask the NYPD, hey, let me through. And they said, no, we don't care about you. And he got Trump on the phone and said, hey, I need to get through, man. But yeah, so all the world leaders are together today. And so Trump is supposed to be making a speech right now in front of the UN, and then he's going to be making a big announcement for the world. In terms of it being about Bitcoin, I would be on the side saying probably not, right? I mean, we have Dennis Porter coming out saying he's got a massive breaking story that he is going to share with the world starting in a space in about 10 minutes. He's joining Mario Nafal to break that all down. Do these two things have anything to do with each other? I think that's a lot of Twitter conjecture, but we'll see, right? I mean, the Strategic Bitcoin Reserve Executive Order came out in March. We are a half a year past that. And since then, we kept hearing that there will be updates. There will be an audit of how much Bitcoin the U.S. actually has. But we haven't really heard much since. And then we've had Bo Hines leave the administration and go join Tether to launch the American Tether coin, right? So we'll see. We'll see. Do I have high hopes for Trump's announcement to be about Bitcoin? Not so much. Will we see what Dennis Porter? I mean, he's, of course, the classical hype man over here on X, and a lot of people rag on him, but he has done some things, right? I think he has pushed Bitcoin strategic reserves on the state level, and he's traveled around the country trying to get as many legislatures to pass these laws. He's had some success and some failures, but let's see. He's still going at it. I think they're raising more money than ever before. They're hiring now, the Satoshi Action Fund, his political action group. And so, yeah, I think there is some momentum, hopefully, after a slower summer in terms of announcements about all these things. But we're back in the fall. It is lock-in season, and we are ready to go. Let's see what news there is.
Definitely. And we'll stick on a couple of these stories a bit longer than the others. Some of these stories are I think worth sticking on a little bit longer. This one's not so much. It's just an interesting stat, but we saw just over $1.8 billion liquidated in the last 24 hours, 1.65 billion from long positions here. So a ton of people got wiped. We saw Bitcoin tumble down to around $112,000. Obviously not crazy, no insane breaks of structure. I don't think too many like TA analysts are worried. I see a bunch of the noobs calling for 90K already. They're skipping a bunch of levels to get to 90K, of course. You got to see a lot of confirmations before you call for something like that, I think. I've seen people call for 10K already. So we're definitely at that point in the cycle. But pretty insane to see 1.8 billion liquidated. I'm not sure, Rob, if you noticed anything in particular that led to this big liquidation the same day, or if you have any thoughts on what happened yesterday. But I'm sure you were watching it and keeping up with everything that's going on.
Yeah, big drop overnight, Sunday night going into Monday morning. But it was the altcoins that got the worst of it, right? I think ETH was down around 10% overnight, whereas Bitcoin was down around 4%. But we're back above 113,000, which is good to see. We didn't want to break 111. That was the short-term cost basis for a lot of recent buys in the market. And so if we had broken below that, we could have seen some further breakage down to say 107 or so. But it's good to see us above 111, 112. Of course, 112 was the all-time high that we set back in May during the Bitcoin conference in Vegas. And then over the summer in July, we hit up to 124 or so, and we've been chopping around in that range since. But it's good to stay above the previous all-time high set back in May, and we're comfortably sitting there. And again, remember, September is Bitcoin's worst month. If we're going to see some crazy tips and falls, it'll probably be during this month. And even funnier, even to be more exact, September 21st is Bitcoin's worst day on the whole entire calendar.
Whoa.
And we had this tumble after midnight on the 20th when it became the 22nd. But it's so funny how this is historically true. Yes, when historically Bitcoin is positive 53% of days, and on September 21st, I believe that it is negative on over 80% of September 21st.
Wow.
And we usually see around, I think, about a 2% decline on that day. So really crazy how it works. I don't know if it's cosmological. Of course, it's lining up with the fall equinox. We are leaving summer, going into fall. And yeah, man, we took that fall. We took our bruises, but I feel like we're fine, dude. Who cares? We're headed into October, November, December. And if we can be green in September, that's a very, very good sign that we're going to have a strong Q4.
Yeah.
Again, we started this month at 107 and we are $6,000 above that. So count your blessings, be happy for where we are. And we've got a massive breaking from Dennis Porter today that's going to take us to the stratosphere.
Not only that, we have Bitcoin literally like 6% away, 7% away, something like that, away from flipping silver. And I just can't imagine the types of conversations that are happening for Bitcoin. I think there's a reason that every time new holders, there's a new base of people that find out about the asset class, we have a higher low every time. There's just something that separates Bitcoin here. And the narrative is going to be absolutely insane when we have closer to a $200,000 Bitcoin. I mean, the narrative was crazy just to get to 100. Now that we've crossed that, we've pretty much, graduated middle school, it feels like, for Bitcoin in that terms. And a lot of people are interested. In fact, some people are so interested, they're willing to acquire companies that are also just in the same directional move as Bitcoin. We have Vivek Ramaswamy-Backed Strive, who just acquired MSTR True North a few days ago, which is a media arm, of the company. I'm sure they'll be getting some kind of funding and distribution help or something like that. But they acquired them to have some sort of media arm and presence. And then just yesterday announced that they are going to be acquiring Semler Scientific, which I believe, Rob, correct me if I'm wrong, the second company to start publicly accumulating Bitcoin in a big public statement, right?
Yeah. So Semler Scientific started in, I believe, April of 2024. So they are about a year and a quarter or so into their stacking journey, and they've accumulated over 5,000 Bitcoin. So Strive, they just did their merger with Asset Entity Group, I believe is his name, and they've now listed on the NASDAQ. And so they needed to wait for that to go ahead with their Bitcoin accumulation strategy. But they raised over $1 billion through a PIPE financing deal. So they used, I believe, half of that to buy 5,000 Bitcoin. And then they purchased Semler Scientific using all stock. It's an all stock transaction. So the Semler team is getting paid in Strive stock in order to sell their company and hand over their 5,000 plus Bitcoin. So now Strive enters the game strong with over 10,900 Bitcoin on their balance sheet, automatically becoming a top 10 Bitcoin treasury company. And we'll see here. I mean, this is a very interesting deal, right? Matt Cole, the CEO of Strive, he has a long history in financial markets. I believe that he was one of the leading members of CalPERS, which is the largest retirement fund in America over in California. And so he's structured many deals before. And one thing that he saw is that he believes they want to acquire Bitcoin by going after distressed assets. And could you say Semler was a distressed asset? Well, yes, in the terms that it was trading below MNAV, right? The Semler Scientific was their stock price, their market cap was trading below the value of their Bitcoin. So because of that, it was accretive for Strive to issue stock to purchase Semler. And Semler, I've interviewed Eric. Have you interviewed Eric? Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, he's great. Love him.
Yeah, great dude, brilliant, sort of a legendary investor. Early into Netflix, Google. He has definitely been around the block, knows what he's doing. Semler Scientific is actually his dad's company. His dad was a doctor who started a medical device company. Semler, Eric took it over as an activist investor. And they do have some products that are unique and cash flow positive and are doing well in the marketplace. But they also realized back in 2024 that they needed to make a change. And Eric took them in this Bitcoin Treasury direction. And since then, I mean, the stock itself, it's had its ups and downs. But this sort of seems like the end of the day, you got to see who's the winners and losers here, right? From what I've seen online, it seems as while Strive did purchase Semler at a 210% premium, so the stock was trading around $30, and the purchase price of when they announced the deal was at $90 of what they were paying per share. But that should come down because it's the price. The deal is priced in shares. That means that it's dependent on the price of Strive too, right? So they think that the price of Strive will come down and make this deal less exuberant than the 210% premium that they're paying.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, it's pretty crazy. This is the first time that we are seeing a all stock transaction, an acquisition, M&A, a merger and acquisition in the Bitcoin Treasury space. And this will probably happen a lot more. We've got companies that are trading above MNAV and those trading below MNAV. And when previously we saw companies like Metaplanet trading at 8, 9, 10x MNAV. So some pretty ridiculous valuations earlier back in the spring and summer. Those have definitely come down, and even Metaplanet is just trading above 1 MNAV now.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's definitely interesting times. Definitely some questions in terms of to see how this strategy will play out, but it's something that I think we'll see a lot more of.
Agreed. And it's gonna be interesting watching Wall Street's products come in. That'll be the most interesting thing for me to keep track of, as this will be the big difference, essentially from every other cycle, closest cycle than this one. Wall Street's in. They've got their fingers in there. They've built products. They've launched products. They've acquired products. They're fully in, and the rates take advantage. So it's not really a question of if anymore. It is fully a question of when. In fact, some big names are also moving in. Rob, why don't you open this one? This is from the lovely Bitcoin News account, by the way, who Rob is the co-founder of. And if you're watching the stream and you're not already following Bitcoin News, that's literally the biggest mistake ever, because I'm going to pull up Rob's screen. Is that cool with you, Rob? Pull up your screen?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. All right. I just wanted to, just because I think you have your page pulled up, but for people who aren't aware, you literally are posting like every 6 seconds about what's going on in the Bitcoin world. It's excellent stuff. It is my favorite Bitcoin account. And so you have my my personal gratefulness for keeping us up to date on everything. But yeah, would love for you to kind of open up this story for us a little bit.
Absolutely. So Fold is a financial company in the Bitcoin space. They've been around for well over 5 years now. They were very popular back last cycle in 2020, 2021, because they had this little wheel here on their app. You could just open up Fold, spin the wheel, and possibly win some free sats.
Okay.
Yeah, some people won a whole Bitcoin spinning this wheel on Fold. And so over time, the rewards on the wheel lessened. People weren't so happy with that. So they're going in a new direction. They've launched some new products. One, they've launched the Bitcoin gift card, which you can find in CVS and Walgreens and different pharmacies and stores across America, where you can, just like you buy a Amazon gift card or a GameStop gift card, you can go and pay your cash at the cash register and get a QR code to go and get your Bitcoin that is the cash equivalent of that. So that's really cool. And they've also been hyping up their credit card. And so they announced this earlier this year. You could sign up, get on the wait list. You could do a bunch of activities to move up the wait list, which I thought was a really cool way to sort of activate a product and to build hype around this new credit card coming. But they hit some snags. And of course, it's not easy launching a credit card. But now it seems as if they've figured it out. They are partnering with two financial behemoths. We've got Stripe and Visa, who they are partnering with on this. And they are offering up to 3.5% back in Bitcoin. So I believe that you automatically get 2% back in Bitcoin when you make the purchase, and then you get an additional 1.5% back in Bitcoin when you pay off the credit card using your Fold checking account.
Nice.
So, and yeah.
By the way, huge, like big update or big upgrade. I mean, not to hate on Gemini. I'm glad Gemini came out and did their Bitcoin card, and I use it because I like earning in Bitcoin. I'd rather that than my useless reward points that I'll have to transfer over from another credit card that I'll never use to get, like a fraction of my rewards. But 3.5% back on Bitcoin. I mean, props to them. I mean, Fold I've only recently found out about in the last year or so. But big ups. I mean, this is awesome. I mean, I will definitely be trying. I mean, this is exactly the type of company that the top Bitcoin people I think should be trying to work with. Because in my head, I mean, do you see negative scenarios for this type of situation? I look at this and I don't see any negatives, because as long as we know where their Bitcoin's coming from, I don't see any negatives.
Yeah, no, I mean, it Fold's legit, right? I mean, they're a listed company, they're a public company. They have been in the space for over half a decade now.
Nice.
And so, yeah, I don't think these are not shysters who are coming in stealthily and trying to rug pull you. No, and they're legit, right? You wouldn't be able to partner with Stripe and Visa unless you had strong financial foundation in order to provide this product. And I mean, another great thing about Fold is that they've got gift cards on there, and you get really tremendous Bitcoin back when you purchase gift cards through Fold. So you can get up to 10% on things like, I mean, Amazon. We all use Amazon, right? You get 10% back in Bitcoin. Yeah. So
it's not sponsored, by the way, everyone. This is just a breaking story. This is just cool.
Legit. Yeah.
Wow.
So yeah, Fold really helps you live sort of on a Bitcoin standard, right? You can put your Bitcoin on there, and I believe you can pay your bills and pay your mortgage through the Fold app. So
I think I have the Fold app. I do have the Fold app. Yeah, I downloaded this because Lauren had them on a podcast a few months ago. Nice. And I listened to it and I liked it. And I looked at their app and I was like, dude, this is clean. So I actually am familiar with Fold. I'm gonna check them out a lot more because I like their branding. I love the information here. I mean, this is awesome. This is probably twice as good in the rewards category than Gemini's. So unfortunately, if I can get my hands on this, I will be moving over to Fold.
Yeah. What's been your experience with the Gemini card?
It's been fantastic. I love the card. It's a nice metal orange one. So physically, I feel happy holding it. I feel happy using it. So from that perspective, it's great. I think it's a clean looking card. From the rewards aspect, it is pretty depressing seeing the types of rewards I'm able to generate now, since a majority of them are 1% to 2% rewards back. A very few percent of them are the 4%, which I was under the impression was most of them. But that's just not the case for my living. I bet there are a ton of people where maybe 3.5%, 4% is their average, and they're pretty happy. For me, I think this makes a lot more sense. I think this is cool. I also think it's the start. I mean, I imagine there will be a multitude of different options here, and it'll probably just be up to you who you'd like to use. And in this scenario, if Fold's been around for multiple years now and they get the Bitcoin ethos, I'd much rather work with a company like that than a company who's just here to partner with a company like Fold. But this is great. I mean, they clearly Stripe and Visa have seen something here with Fold and said, yeah, we can help out. Let's partner up. So I think this is fantastic. Is there anything else you want to leave on this one, by the way? Because I know that I just saw this 2 seconds ago, but Dennis Porter here, if this will pop up, Dennis Porter just went live on YouTube, or not YouTube, on X. And the major announcement, there's 5,000 people in the space. They started at 8:30, so it's been a few minutes. Let me know if you want to jump over to this for a few minutes and listen in. I don't know if anything's come out yet, Rob. Have you paid attention? Do you know what's going on here?
I don't. I'm live with you, dude. So we're figuring this out as we go.
All right.
Let's take a listen. Let's take a quick. Yeah, I mean, is there?
Yeah, there is. Let me unmute here. I'll unmute and then let me share my screen with the tab so that everyone else can hear as well. Here we go. Also share tab. Dennis Porter. And we're here. Let's listen in, folks. This is the big announcement, apparently, that's coming out of DC. We'll see.
Big, massive breaking.
been regulating one market while the
Oh,
CFTC would
it's
have been
muted
regulating
still,
another.
so I
They
don't
may
think they've
not have
started.
even been able to
No, they
figure
were
out
just
I hear,
loading.
I hear Scott.
Do you hear
manipulating
him?
the market
Okay,
on
hold on.
both sides of that trade.
No, we know this through
Let
history.
me
Look, the
try
flash
refreshing.
crash.
That's weird.
I could hear the space. Could you?
Oh, you could hear it just now?
Yeah.
Oh, I could not. It's because I unmuted. It's because I had the Chrome tab muted for myself. That's why. Here we go. We're back.
Futures and equity
There we
markets are interconnected, and they propose this thing called the CAT, Consolidated Audit Trail, which is massively expensive. We're now on.
All right. Dennis isn't even here yet.
Yeah,
It's still
you're
not
right.
being
Warming up.
done.
They're
You're
still warming
arguing
up. We
with
got
who's
other
gonna
stories
pay
to go
for it.
to.
And by the way,
Agreed.
it doesn't include futures. So
All right, we'll bounce over to the next one here. We've got U.S. lawmakers urging the SEC to implement Trump's August 7th executive order. This was the one that's going to be allowing retirement savings to the 401k to invest into Bitcoin and crypto. So this is a full announcement that was put out. A lot of people interested here from DC, and they're looking for Trump to give some clarity a little bit more and to get this thing rolling here. I think this could be pretty cool. I mean, look, if we see even the tiniest smidge of a percentage of people allocate even 0.1% into Bitcoin, that's where every single quality starts to come out, right? Like, I think until the qualities need to be, until the qualities are, when you shine the spotlight on them, until they're so necessary, it almost is a non-factor, right? Like for example, the Bitcoin Treasury companies. It's a non-factor whether or not they raise money until it matters, right? Until someone points at it and says, wait, all you guys don't have business models. Wait a second. Or you're all trading under MNAV, like whatever the characteristic is that they're going to call out. Doesn't matter until it's called into question. And so that's what's interesting to me, is to see how these things start to roll out and what is going to be like actually important, what people actually care about. But I think once you start to have Bitcoin be a conversation of a retirement asset and a gold type of asset for the average person, once that conversation is happening, that's where limited supply kicks in. Because right now, I feel like even still, Bitcoin does not get the love it gets that it should from a couple of the characteristics around it in terms of the limited supply or the proof of work, which I'll say sometimes, especially to the TradFi folks, and I just know it goes out one ear and out the other. And I'm like, man, you just don't care, do you? Like, you just don't care until you do. And it's going to matter. So let me know if you have any thoughts on this. This is a big story.
Yeah, I think it's only right that Americans should be able to save for retirement how they see fit. And this is a big step in that direction. We got a letter from a number of Republican congressmen to the head of the SEC, Paul Atkins. Paul Atkins is totally on board with Bitcoin. He's a big crypto guy himself. And it just makes sense, right? It does seem as if we are entering into this era where even the people in Washington understand that the way things have gone for the last 40, 50 years are not going to be how they're going to go for the next 40, 50 years.
Yeah.
Retirement is a huge issue. Social Security is about to go bankrupt within a decade or so. Us as millennials and younger, we should not expect to see a single penny of that. And so if we are going to properly save for retirement, we should not rely on the government. No, we got to look out for ourselves. And that's why Bitcoin is so important for your future, for your any hope of retiring. And this will hopefully help that, right? Because a 401k is tax privilege. So you'll be able to put it away, keep the Bitcoin there, and then access it later in life without the big tax hit that you get when you regularly sell Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Big things,
agreed.
absolutely necessary. And as that Cointelegraph article said, that just a small allocation could lead to $100 billion of inflows to the Bitcoin market. And of course, with the multiple, that increases the market cap of Bitcoin by a whole lot more than just $100 billion. Big things. And this should be approved already. But it's also interesting to see how we're entering into this sort of financial Wild West. We've got this tremendous debt, $37 trillion. There's no way that we're going to be able to pay it back. The only hope is to sort of outgrow it, right? And so that means that they're going to unleash all these different means and ways for people to invest and hopefully grow the economy in a way that outpaces the debt. Will they be able to do it? Not sure, but they're going to try.
Yeah. I'm just looking at the comments here to get a bit of a pulse check on where people are sitting. So if I could shift and sift through all the bots first, that can get maybe an actual response here, but I'm not sure if any of these are real, to be honest. But
Mm-hmm.
looks like, yeah. I mean, look, for me, I remember my dad told me a long time ago. He's like, look, you buy the S&P, you put money. It was the Dave Ramsey model. Put whatever money into the bank account over X amount of years, you'll be able to retire. And I just remember looking at him. I was like, do you? I was like a kid. And I was like, you don't buy that, do you? Like, that doesn't even make sense. Like, why would you buy that? They're like, oh, because it goes up. And that literally is the only reason.
Mm-hmm.
I think that matters a lot more than people think. When you have an entire investment model based on it goes up because it goes up in America, and there really isn't another reason, because you're like, you can have other reasons. You can say, oh, the companies, the valuations. You're like, not really. Like, what is where does the value come from? And so, like the stock paper derivatives market, like it's not a secret that Wall Street blew up after we got off the gold standard. They blew up because we got off the gold standard, because they leveraged what that fiat system creates.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think it will matter so much. Of course, they'll be able to co-opt it and sign up their way in to still be able to win for Bitcoin for themselves. The good thing is anyone can pick up Bitcoin. You know, you could be Bill Clinton buying it, at your estate, wherever you're at, or you could be Rob Wallace chilling in his bedroom apartment. You could both buy Bitcoin at the same time and both get in at the same price. And so, look, I think Bitcoin is fundamentally just an apex asset. It really is. It does sit in that top three, I think. We've got Michael Saylor, who also is a big believer in this. We'll see another orange dot chart. I guess we can just expect him to just keep doing this. We had Darkside really go on a tear the last month or so. Josh Mandel was all over Twitter. These big time macro ex-Wall Street guys calling for MSTR to start selling a small percentage of Bitcoin instead of having to sell common stock in order to cover things just long term, because they just don't believe that just the raising the money, selling the debt, buying Bitcoin, they don't think it's sustainable. So we've seen a lot of conversation around MSTR. Semler apparently doesn't care. He's still buying Bitcoin. He doesn't care. He's going to post the chart and buy the next day. So give me your thoughts on this. Do you think this is a big of a story? Do you think we even need to be keeping up with this? Or is this more just like Twitter stuff? Because when you post it, it typically does well. And so it's one of those things that I'm like, I feel like we all post because we know everyone gets excited. But the price doesn't move. Like, they buy all this Bitcoin and then nothing happens. So at some point, I feel like they're right. It's like, how long can you keep having this negative feedback loop for your investors who are you're selling common stock on, or to the people that you're saying you keep buying, but then there's no proof of reserves, there's no price movement. You're like, how is this happening?
Yeah. I mean, it's super interesting when you look at the price of MSTR. It's essentially flat for the year, right? Last November, we had this spike up to $550 or so, and now we're chilling at around $320, $335. So it's come down significantly from the all-time highs that we saw last fall. And since then, bring up MSTR here, right? Yeah, so we spiked up to 540 in November, right after the election of President Trump. And if we look at from here, when we started the year, right, in January, we were at 335, and we are today at 335, right? So it really has gone nowhere. It's gone down a lot during the tariff tantrums, of course, in April, down to 233, and then up to 455 as recently as July, but now we're back to flat for the year. Just bring up year to date, and we've gone nowhere, right?
Wow.
But the interesting thing about MSTR is the fact that, yes, they have issued a whole lot of stock through the ATM purchases to buy more Bitcoin, right? Billions of dollars worth. So even though the fact that the share price is still 335, there's, I believe, millions of more shares of MSTR out in the market, which means its market cap is significantly bigger than it was back when we started the year. So that's an interesting way to think about MSTR. And these purchases that they've made are still quote unquote accretive. It's accretive dilution, right? They're adding more Bitcoin per share for every single Bitcoin purchase that they make, even though they are issuing a lot of stock. So when they started, it was less than 50,000 sats per share. And now it's over, I believe, 200,000 sats per share. And so, yeah, I mean, that means that every single share of MicroStrategy is theoretically backed by over $200 worth of Bitcoin. And so it doesn't have that multiple of the 3 MNAV that people love to see on MicroStrategy, but this is the behemoth, right? They've got over 639,000 Bitcoin, right? They've got roughly 3% of all the Bitcoin that will ever exist. And yeah, I mean, one thing that Semler did say at last week's Bitcoin Treasury Unconference was that if all hell breaks loose and their stock price is crashing and they need to pay the dividends on their preferreds, yes, they will sell some Bitcoin in order to do so. And
Yep.
I think the market reacted well to that. That the spike here that we saw was in direct reaction to that.
On the day chart as well.
Yep. So
Yes.
yeah, that it spiked up a lot the day after the conference because he said that. But since it's come back down, as we've seen,
Do you think that's hold? Do
Bitcoin's
you
price
think
go down.
that green candle is the true reaction, or do you think the retracement of that same move is the real move here? Because that sounds good to me now. Sounds not so good to me if we end up having a reversal 4-year bear market. I don't think we have the bear market. I honestly don't. I can't imagine a single possible scenario where we fall right into a 4-year cycle the way we have. In fact, if we did, I would think something's broken. I really would. Something wouldn't be right if we have this kind of adoption. Something doesn't make something would have someone has to lie. Someone would be lying in that scenario, in my opinion. So if we were, I mean, we could see a small pullback. I'm talking about these 70-80% corrections, but because in my head, it also lines up too well. I mean, to have these comments coming out towards the end of the market cycle, to have every treasury company entering in, Tom Lee bull posting BMNR, and all these other stocks and tickers and stuff like that. I'm like, dude, they're all literally piling in the last minute, just like last time. And what's weird about the 4-year cycle is that like you only need to wait a year. It's not 4 years of bear market. It's just the 1 year, and then you can really just start over again. And in a year, you're back at the same price. It's one of those things that it feels silly to even talk about. But to have MSTR pull a move like having to sell Bitcoin when their stock is also going down, if we're also in a downward trend, I think that's as ugly as it gets in that type of scenario if it actually plays out. So I'm curious if you think the real move was a positive one, or do you think, how do you think they would react if that actually plays out, if they actually have to sell a little bit of Bitcoin?
Yeah, I mean, I think it would be hard for the narrative. Michael Semler has always been the never sell your Bitcoin guy, and they've made it clear that they never plan to. But with these new products come new obligations, new responsibilities, and these dividends need to get paid, right? Or else the whole entire story collapses. So do I think that one day they will maybe have to do that? I mean, I think it would take a lot. I think it would take a really severe bear market, like 80% drawdown or more, in order for that to happen. But hey, I mean, it's Bitcoin, though that has happened before in the past, and it could happen again. And what could cause, I mean, if there's a whole lot of just copycats and fakers in this Bitcoin treasury game now, and they will most likely either be forced to sell their Bitcoin or be acquired for pennies on the dollar. So if they're acquired, then it's not a big deal for us as Bitcoin holders. But if they have to sell, it could cause a cascade. But I mean, Bitcoin has faced many things in the past, and this is something that it might have to face in the future. But Bitcoin's a strong beast, and it is anti-fragile, and every challenge it faces makes it only stronger.
By the way, what year did you get into Bitcoin? Like, when did you find out? And were you like, oh, this is orange pill, this is it?
Yeah, I first got Bitcoin in 2016, but I wasn't truly orange pilled until 2020.
Wow, you got years on me then. I'm literally a year into this. I mean, when I started the Wolf Bitcoin, we were still Wolf Web 3, and then we became Wolf Crypto, and then we said, you know what, let's screw our heads all the way on and become Wolf Bitcoin. I was going to say it's two different conversations, right? You have a conversation around debasement and extending your retirement and retiring your bloodline, but in a real way. And then you've got something where there's these crypto instruments and there's these various DeFi products and stuff, and they're trying to do their thing. It's just not the conversation. It's not the same conversation, not the same group of people. It's so different that we had to literally split our brand in half. And so for people who are watching, like, that was not an intent. That was not like we weren't trying to like pull apart Bitcoin and crypto. It just was the case that they're already so apart that trying to put them together made less sense, actually. And I thought that was fascinating.
The conversation is so different, right? When you're in crypto, you're looking for fiat gains. When you're in Bitcoin, you realize that fiat is a melting ice cube, and that you want something that is different, a parallel system, something that is starting a new foundation. And that's what Bitcoin is. We can move on from this MSTR chart, but this is insane. This is the all-time chart of MSTR. This is when they spiked up in 2000 during the dot-com boom, right?
They're already back at that level.
And
What?
they, I mean, but the thing is, it's sitting right at that same level, right? Which is very insane.
I've not
Um,
seen this chart put like this. This is actually crazy to see.
yeah, it's funny how there is something to say about charts and human psychology and how things play out, but for
Oh
it just to
yes.
be, we're sort of at this is precipice level for MSTR right now, and for it to be sitting at the former all-time high from 25 years ago is just pretty wild. But yeah, it's got to hold this line. Or else we'll see. But I think we've got a big 3 months ahead of us. This is just, again, you got to remember it's September. Remember it's September, and that this is the hard month. This is the hardest one. Get through this, and it's blue skies ahead.
Exactly. We'll move on here.
Yeah.
I'm glad you brought that up. So we have. I wanted to check in on Dennis Porter, but I don't think he's in there. I just saw him quote tweet the space, and he says, "I'll be there momentarily," or something like that.
Oh my God, he's like Elvis, dude. He's like Elvis.
Where is he? Is he in here? He's not in here yet. Okay, so we'll check back in here in a few minutes on what the update is. If you see anything from Trump, by the way, please let me know. Rob, while you're scrolling here.
Yeah.
But we do have this story here, and this is from you guys as well. I didn't know if you wanted to introduce us to this topic here. Morgan Stanley.
Yeah, this just came out this morning. Morgan Stanley, of course, one of the largest brokerages in America, where many people go and buy their stocks. So now they are partnering with Zero Hash to enable E-Trade clients to trade Bitcoin and other crypto starting next year. So, I mean, the fact that you'll be able to open up your E-Trade account and say, buy Bitcoin is pretty insane. So, of course, and they're also looking to integrate a full wallet solution. So you might actually be able to buy real Bitcoin and not just some futures contract or some financial product. I don't know the full details yet as to the wallet solution that they want to implement, but the fact that you might be able to buy real Bitcoin and put it in your own wallet and get those private keys and then move it off to some secure cold storage, that is crazy. That is the future of finance. That is why Bitcoin is going to take over the world, because it is being integrated at the highest levels. And we are lucky enough to have been in it before Wall Street.
Yeah, the one thing I'm going to be looking for is, and something that's going to be a lot more in my brain, is in terms of regulation. Because we saw all these, I've been surprised at how much the guardrails and rails of Wall Street are similar to crypto. Like when I saw Bullish hit the market, the Bullish exchange.
Yeah.
I looked at it and I was like, guys, this is literally the same thing as what we have in crypto. This is just like an exchange, like anything else I've seen. There's no difference here. I was like, you guys all made fun of us because there's crypto stuff happening over here. You guys did the same. It's basically the same thing with some suits and ties over there. And I was like, okay. And then we've got private companies like MicroStrategy able to claim a certain amount of Bitcoin that they've bought, but they don't actually have to show proof of reserves. But then we have public companies doing that. And then we also have private companies who apparently hold enormous amounts of Bitcoin and other assets, like Tether is an example that comes to mind. And so the question that popped in my head is like, who is actually accountable and who are they accountable to? Because it's like, okay, who needs to report what exactly? And who makes the rules on who decides that? You know what I mean? Because I'm like, I feel like there's a few things that should be easy. Like proof of reserves makes sense to me. I've heard some people argue it. I'm not sure if you've heard the arguments or if you've heard one that was compelling, but that's the main thing I'm going to be paying attention to, because this is cool. My only fear is that I'm like, can we trust that? Like Morgan Stanley saying you can buy real Bitcoin sounds great. Is that true?
Yeah, I mean, it really depends on if you get the private keys or not, right? If you are able to move it off the exchange. If you can't move it, if it's just like a token, while like a fake one that says that, oh, your Bitcoin's here on this little web page here within E-Trade, then there's questions, right? But if you can actually move that Bitcoin off the E-Trade exchange and into your own wallet on a different platform and eventually into cold storage, then yeah, it's real Bitcoin. Of course, it's best to verify any transaction with your own node. That is why you should run a node, so you're not relying on anybody else's, and you can tell exactly that your Bitcoin is there and it is yours. But yeah, I mean, but this is pretty insane news, and the fact that it's happening. You know, Morgan Stanley, these people would not touch Bitcoin with a 10-foot pole like really 2 years ago, right? And now we're here.
Indeed. Yeah. Big time stuff. Big time stuff. We only got a couple more here, and we'll see if we're going to be able to fit in this Dennis Porter space if it ever happens, if Dennis ever joins. I don't see him in there still, but it's all good. There is another story here I think is interesting. It's a stablecoin conversation. Just a couple stories here left, folks, for who are listening. If you're here, please do repost the stream if you're enjoying it. Appreciate all of you. Be sure to give Bitcoin News a follow here as well. But we saw the EU finance ministers have agreed to, with the ECB, the European Central Bank, to have this digital euro roadmap. They've also mentioned that the ministers will have some type of say in who gets what and how much they get. And this is via Reuters here. But yeah, they have this on the roadmap, the digital euro. This is real. This isn't some kind of thing that might happen. This is something that is happening. The European Central Bank is all over this. They're talking about it right now. The president, Christine Lagarde, the European commissioner, like they're in. This is not some like, whistleblower talking about it. It's them discussing it. And they're going to have the EU ministers saying whether or not, how much you can have. And this is crazy to me. This type of story, I can't even believe exists, to be honest.
But dude, this is not a good thing. When you see digital euro, what they're talking about is a CBDC.
Exactly.
They are talking about a token that you can put into your government-approved wallet, right? That they have the ability to shut off or to make go away after a certain amount of time, or to even geofence, right? I mean, there's been CBDC projects in, I believe, Thailand, where they tried geofencing the stablecoin to see if people would spend it just within their local jurisdiction, and they couldn't spend it elsewhere. So yeah, this fall, this October, in a couple weeks, there's a big vote, I believe, for the Euro CBDC to move them out of the preparation phase and into the implementation phase of the Euro CBDC. They've been working on this for a number of years. It's very interesting that Europe, with all of its backwardness when it comes to tech and regulation, is pushing forward with this first. And we see a lot of politicians in America say, no, we do not want a CBDC. There's potential laws banning CBDCs. But Europe is going for it, right? China has one, and now Europe wants to implement a digital euro.
Oh yeah, we are cooked. We're quite literally cooked. This is as dystopian as it gets. I mean, they are in our face, have already laughed at us. They're planning it out in front of us, and they're giving us the roadmap. I mean, this is crazy. But this is also why I keep saying the only conversation left in a few years will be what is not losing value. Why? Why is it not losing value? And there's not going to be many assets to choose from. Like there really isn't. Because it's not about what's dying and what's pumping. It's about what's losing to the best assets, because all you can do is pair them against each other. Like you can pair up, Bitcoin against gold, and then you can see, the price against a real hard asset. And then you see, compared to gold, Bitcoin's performance hasn't been compared to the US dollar's performance, an entirely different story, which I think is fine, by the way. I think, for people who are gold bugs and they're laughing because Bitcoin hasn't, pumped past gold in the way that it's pumped past the dollar. But I'm sitting here going, it doesn't even matter. Like all that matters is the fact that you can pin up any of these other things against gold or Bitcoin. And the conversation the spotlight just enlarges, and it will continue to enlarge, I think, because there's not many other conversations to have once you've got digital currencies out there that are backed by governments and countries fully controlled by them. You say one wrong thing in UK, apparently you get arrested now. And so with your money now being involved, now what? You can't leave the house. You can't buy on Amazon. Like this gets real slippery real fast.
Yeah, we saw this month in Vietnam, where they issued a digital ID. And if you did not give your biometrics, aka get your face scanned and give over your fingerprints, you were blocked from access from your bank accounts. 86 million bank accounts were frozen in Vietnam this month because the people did not register to get their digital ID. And now we're seeing a big press for that in the UK. Of course, for years, they let their borders just be wide open and had lots of migration and people come into the country. But now they say, okay, in order to deal with this problem, we need to have digital ID for everybody in the country. And so if you did not have this digital ID, you wouldn't be able to get housing or a job or healthcare, of course, because they have the National Health Service over there. It's all government run. This is real. This is what we are facing here in the second half of the 2020s. Is this digital panopticon, a control grid, and it's a slow creep, right? And year after year, you see them make issues. I mean, this CBDC, this digital euro, is years in the making, and they're just now leaving the preparation phase and entering into the implementation phase. So it's a slow boil, right? It's like boiling the frogs in the pot, and you don't realize that the heat is getting turned up until it's too late. And
Exactly.
that's why it's so important. When we talk about these things, we realize that when they say digital euro, what they really mean is a central bank digital currency and the ability to turn off your money. And that is why you need sovereign money. This is why you need Bitcoin. So I need to control your private keys and be able to cross a border with 12 words in your head and have access to your money. This is extremely important, and we need everybody to be talking about it.
Agreed. 1,000%. This is one of the crazier stories I've seen. We get updates on this every few weeks, but every time I look at it, I just can't help but I can't believe it's happening. By the way, I don't know if I'm just going to give up on the Dennis Porter thing, but bro is still not in the space. I don't know what he's doing.
Elvis, dude. He's
Oh,
getting
man.
ready backstage. He's getting his cape on.
We got a couple here. We got a couple stories left here. I got about 10 minutes or so before we jump into the market talks and we head into the spaces for the day. But we got a few minutes left here in the stream. A couple stories. UAE joining the OECD crypto asset reporting framework, boosting global tax transparency. This is going to be starting in 2027 and then really getting started, really get going in 2028, it looks like, in terms of sharing information. But yeah, this is a big move. This is the Ministry of Finance, MOF, announced this agreement on Saturday, a couple of days ago, just to confirm essentially and formalize the UAE's commitment to implementing here. And they're fully in. I mean, everyone is fully in. They've all just agreed. I think a lot of them looked at Washington. I don't know how many of them made a decision based on what DC decided. Mm-hmm. But once we had the strategic reserve announcement, it was basically hands off. And then once Trump launched the coin, I think just about everyone said, okay, yeah, there's opportunity here because, I mean, they made so much money. You can't hide it. It's all on chain. You can see there are companies that are starting, stocks that are being boosted in Japan with MetaPlanet. We're buying Bitcoin. So people are seeing it, and it's on the world stage. It's not just some fringe crypto DeFi platform or something. They're fully in. We've got big time countries and big time movers entering this space here. And I know I had just quickly alluded to this other story here as well, which is the MetaPlanet acquired even more Bitcoin that you guys just posted. But like I said, everyone is seeing it. It's not just in America anymore. We have MetaPlanet going from, just a mere few cents to many dollars now. And, going from essentially a stock that had been forgotten to one of the top, if not the top stock, I believe, in Japan.
Yeah, in 2024, it was the best performing stock in Japan. So yeah, this was a defunct hotel company who pivoted into Bitcoin and has gone gangbusters, right? It's really amazing to see not just the performance of the stock, but also the community that they've built around it. Their shareholder meetings are like the Super Bowl in terms of crowd participation, the people lining up to try to get in. You wear a MetaPlanet shirt down the street in Tokyo, people will high five you. They really built quite the community. And I mean, the reason that MetaPlanet has done so well is because there's very certain tax laws. I mean, the capital gains tax on selling Bitcoin is extremely high. So people are looking for other vehicles to get Bitcoin exposure. There hadn't been Bitcoin ETFs, I believe, in Japan. Another reason why MetaPlanet did so well in 2024. But they've built themselves a cult following, right? And yeah, they want to get to 210,000 Bitcoin by 2027. Well, they're at 25,000 now, right? So they need to essentially 10x their Bitcoin stack by then. And 210,000, I mean, that's 1% of all the Bitcoin that will ever exist, right? So if they're able to do that, my goodness gracious. We just put out a video last night of the Strive CEO, Matt Cole, saying that in terms of what these Bitcoin treasury companies do with their Bitcoin, that can be figured out later. We are in the gold rush phase, and you'll never be able to get as much Bitcoin as you're able to get within the next 5 years. So that all these companies are just putting their heads down and are trying to figure out all the financial engineering and tricks they can use in order to accumulate as much Bitcoin as possible, as fast as possible, in order to set themselves up for this new era that we are entering in.
Insane, dude. Yeah, very cool stuff, MetaPlanet. I definitely be paying attention to this stock. And yeah, I mean, that's like the main stories I have for the day. Look, we were coming here together. Typically, I run through the stories. We're 10, 15 minutes. But I want to come on and try a different style, go a bit more into depth into some of these stories. We got the number one guy for all Bitcoin news and stuff going on through the markets here. Rob with us to go a bit more deeper and get some nuance takes and opinions here. So I think this is fun. I think this is necessary because typically I only get the headlines. I only get a couple details in per story. And I think this is cool. We're also trying our best to see if we could fit in this moment here from the Dennis Porter space, but the guy's not in there. I mean, Rob, do you see him? I'm gonna join and see if maybe he's hiding or something, but I don't see he's in the stage. I don't think he's on stage.
What you're suggesting, they've because you
No, that's Dave. That's Dave. Not Dennis.
Well, yeah,
that's fine. That's fine.
We'll see what happens. So nothing new from Trump as well.
Well, it's interesting. I'm looking at it right now. If you want to pull up my screen.
Oh, yes.
So he's supposed to be making this big speech to the world this morning at 10 a.m. to the UN. He tries to go up the elevator with Melania, and look what happens. This is the UN. This is New York, right? I mean, this is America. This is his home country. He's going, and it just stops. The second he gets on the elevator, it stops. And then, yeah. That's doesn't seem like it's just a coincidence. And then he goes to give his speech, and the teleprompter just stops. Making the speech without a teleprompter. Whoever runs a teleprompter is in big trouble.
Are you able to play with sound?
It was.
If you go to if you close out, just make sure when you hit share screen that it says Chrome tab, because it'll allow the audio to play as well from your tab, and we'll be able to hear. And while you're doing that, folks, if you're watching back at home, please do repost the stream if you haven't already. That's actually a really weird thing to see. I mean, I saw some quote the other day, and it said the world is a stage and there are no heroes. And that blew my mind. I was like, damn, the world, I've heard the world is a stage before, but the world really is a stage, dude. I mean, that's pretty funny to see. I don't know who pulled strings to make that kind of thing happen. I mean, obviously it could be coincidence, and it probably is, but that's kind of crazy.
Yeah. Can you hear now?
And I don't mind making this speech without a teleprompter, because the teleprompter is not working. I feel very happy to be up here with you nevertheless. And that way you speak more from the heart. I can only say that whoever's operating this teleprompter is in big trouble.
You're in big trouble, bud. You're in big trouble. Whoever's operating.
He's like, how long can I stall before they fix this thing?
Yeah, dude. Whoever's operating the escalators and the teleprompters over at the UN over on the east side of Manhattan, you're in big trouble, buddy. You're in big trouble.
Say there has been some interesting stuff that took place at the UN. I'm not surprised that we've had some weird stuff happen to the United States, I guess, from the UN headquarters, but interesting, man. Wow, that is weird to see Trump struggling with a teleprompter and an escalator at the UN, not able to give his speech. So I guess people take that for what you will.
He's still giving the speech. He's still giving the speech.
Did he still give the speech? Okay, I didn't know if he did or not. Okay, interesting. So I guess we'll see. Was there anything notable that came out of it that you're seeing on the timeline yet?
So yeah, he said, I'm really good at this stuff. Your countries are going to hell is a line, and I guess he just started it off the cuff. It's time to end the failed experiment of open borders. You have to end it now. So yeah, I mean, it seems like he's
more of
he's going off the cuff. He's shooting from the hip.
Nothing about Bitcoin, because he does not know much about Bitcoin.
Yeah, I don't think he's talking about Bitcoin.
I think it was so funny. I saw the clip, and it was at the Bitcoin conference from the prior year, not this past year, and it was the one who was running for president, and he was like in the middle of the speech, he goes, "You never sell your Bitcoin," and like the place blows up. You can see his face. He's like, "Oh, yes, you wouldn't believe that I came up with that one. You never sell your Bitcoin." I'm like, God, this guy does not understand anything. But
no, I mean, the best part of it is to finish out that speech. He goes, "Have fun playing with your Bitcoin and your other things."
God, man, this is the state of our world. Well, it's too bad we didn't get to hear from Dennis Porter, but I'm sure we'll have some updates for people who want to catch up and be aware of what's happening. That's where you're going to want to go to Bitcoin News. Bitcoin and News.com is the handle. They're pinned up at the very top, or they're pinned in the description below, and they're also tagged in if you're watching on X. Please do, by the way, if you haven't already, please give a follow to him and subscribe if you're on YouTube, wherever you're at. If you enjoyed the stream, we want to dive a bit deeper into the stories, figured it makes sense to, hear from the guy who's reporting it to most of the people. I feel like the average person in Bitcoin probably is getting their information from you. So I appreciate you coming on, Rob. And is there anything you guys have coming up or anything you want to let the people know about from Bitcoin News Society, things that they should be aware of?
We got a podcast interview with Jeff Booth dropping tomorrow on YouTube.
I will definitely be
Nice.
watching that one.
Cheers. Yes. We do our weekly live stream every Monday morning at 11 a.m. And you can head over to bitcoinnews.com and find the newsletter to subscribe. Down at the bottom, definitely sign up for Bitcoin News Weekly. It hits your inbox every Monday morning. It gets you set up for the week ahead. All the biggest headlines in Bitcoin distilled by yours truly to make sure that you have the most important stuff at your fingertips.
Beautiful. You heard it here first, guys. Have an amazing rest of your day. We'll catch you guys all in the next space or stream. We're going to be starting on Spaces here in about 30 seconds. So hop over to Wolf Bitcoin, and we're going to be talking about the market with all the traders, getting some more short-term thoughts on where they're going to be at and what levels you're going to be paying attention to. So catch you guys all in the next one, everybody. Take care.